Today we decided to retell the manga for you, which is called I Level Up Alone. Be sure to write comments and tell us how you like the plot, and whether you are waiting for the continuation. Like, subscribe and let's get started. The action takes place in the Korean city of Seoul. Two girls are having lunch in a cafe, but at one moment one of them receives a message on the phone. At first, they think that a man sent the message, but it turns out that a notification of a state of emergency has arrived. The friends decide that the message was sent by mistake. But the second girl receives the same message. And to everyone who sits in a cafe, people start to panic. Sirens start broadcasting the announcement of a state of emergency throughout the city. Suddenly, an unusual creature appears in the sky, similar to a huge purple octopus. It has been 15 days since the gate appeared. The news reports that a state of emergency has been declared across the country, and heads of state have gathered in the US to fight the invasion. According to the military, they are effectively eliminating the monsters. Every resident is safe. It is highly recommended to evacuate as soon as possible. In the apartment where the news is shown, green monsters eat up the owner of the apartment. These monsters are not like the one that appeared in the sky. They are green and look like dogs. Suddenly, a grenade flies into the room. The military begin shelling the creatures. But the bullets don't take them. One of the military resisting the creatures, Soldier Kim, does not start the shelling, as he understands that there is no point in this. But another soldier assures that we must continue to shoot. The monsters attack back. The soldiers lie down in the hope of avoiding the attack. After the attack, the commander does not come to his senses for a long time, but thanks to his subordinates, he still manages to wake up. He is surprised that he is still alive. The soldier has a question: are there any wounded? Luckily, all but Choi's squad, who were injured in the explosion, are safe. After that, he discusses with another soldier that the members of the squad shoot poorly, but they still won't be able to replace the entire squad. People are confused. The commander is called to his side to show something strange. The strange thing is that the monster continues to move. Even with the fact that his head was blown off. The commander sees these creatures for the first time in his life, but he has heard a lot about them from his colleagues. He understands that if the monsters attack in a crowd, then people will not have a chance. The commander is distracted from his thoughts, as they again want to show him something. This time, the military points to the phone, which transmits a message about immediate surrender, as the army is suffering huge losses. Now they show the actions that are unfolding in the United States in the onboard conference room. The president is shown the video that has just been received. In the video, the city is attacked by a red dragon. People are horrified. Nothing affects the dragon, including nuclear weapons, are useless. Conference members begin to fear that such creatures may appear in their country. One of them, succumbing to a strong panic, suggests the use of more nuclear weapons, but he is quickly laid down. Suddenly, the gate is in a conference room. Someone resembling a man comes out of the gate. He has silver hair, a gold headband, and glasses. He is dressed in a black and yellow suit. The president's guards pull out their weapons, but he stops them. Unknown finds the situation with the dragon quite dangerous. The president asks the newcomer to introduce himself. He introduces himself as a monster from a cosmic multidimensional federation. And he came with an offer. It lies in the fact that he can give strength that will help in the fight against monsters. The offer is valid only if the Earthlings agree to join the Cosmic Multidimensional Federation. The president accepts the offer without further thought. This is shocking to the rest, as they cannot trust this person. The president retorts that they simply have no choice and that he does not like the situation either. In addition, he decides to take full responsibility for himself. Monster is pleased. He pulls a glowing cube from his inside jacket pocket and announces that the game has begun. The action takes place 28 years later. The military again confront the monsters using firearms. The squad leader asks a certain Hae Han Lee to concentrate so as not to interfere with the hunters. Hunters are people who have been awakened to fight monsters. They can fight monsters. We are again told about the events that took place 28 years ago, about the first day when the gates opened. Humanity was on the verge of destruction, but they were able to make a deal with someone who is a member of the Multidimensional Federation organization. All over the world, awakened ones have awakened, who have superhuman abilities. They are called hunters. The human race has united to resist the monsters. After 10 years of fierce fighting, people managed to regain some cities. The person who gave people the ability to fight came back immediately after giving strength. Since the land had just joined the Federation, they were given 30 years as a trial period. All this backstory was told to us by Hanyeol, a simple porter. We are shown a fight between humans and monsters. The monster is large, white, similar to a lizard. The girl creates a fireball with her hands and attacks the creatures. The guy in the hat decides to strike a powerful blow alone. But he couldn't hurt him. Silver-scaled lizards proved to be quite fire-resistant. Since the attack did not work, the question arises, what to do now? Hunters need time to recover, so they have to call porters. It seems to the porters that the hunters they fight together are not pros. The monster suddenly begins to grow in size. They give the order to retreat. The monster is preparing to strike a crushing blow. Soldiers use a force shield. The porters have an idea to escape from the battlefield. The manager decides to continue the furious attack on the undead. Says the porters should help the hunters. The guy in the hat tries his powerful attack again. This time he is right on target. The monster goes berserk as a heavy blow from the hunter is followed by a shot from Kim the porter. Kim has to run away because the monster is moving right at him. But he stumbles. The monster practically catches up with him. Kim promised to help. No one reacts, no one cares about the porters. It is believed that for them to die on the battlefield is an honor. Han Bell is a friend of Kim in trouble. He decides to save him. Khan tries to remember where the lizard's weak point is. Kim keeps calling for help. Bell, still not understanding the location of the weak link, shoots at random. He manages to divert attention. Now he is the target, but he is not awakened, so he does not have the strength to resist. One of the hunters still offers to help, but his offer is denied by the rest of the hunters. Khan has to run away. His ammo does not contain mana, which is an important component for an attack. Bullets won't do anything to the monster. He decides to use another method. His choice falls on the power line. If you get into an electric wire, it will break and fall on the lizard. There is only one chance. At first glance, the hero manages to do this, but strong dust rises. It is not clear who caused this. We are shown a girl who wakes up. It's wearing the same headband as the guy who offered the deal to humanity 30 years ago. She says that time has passed very quickly, and that you need to move forward little by little. Connell is waking up. He fainted as the lizard hit him with its tail. The mattress and backpack he found next to him helped him neutralize the attack. Khan conducts the reasoning aloud, but unexpectedly receives an answer. At first he thinks he has gone mad, that the voices have appeared in his head. The voice tells him that even if Han is shocked, he must not forget about the monster. The monster still did not notice the hero, but his power level far exceeds Yell's power level. The issue of finding a porter becomes a matter of time. Khan decides to listen to the voice. The voice decides to give Khan special skills. The voice decides to choose a dagger, which lies not far from the hero. The temporary gift turns out to be a penetrating blade. The hero starts glowing blue. In his hands, a panel of skill information is displayed. The skill is an M-sized piercing blade. The effect is instant death with a high probability of stabbing the opponent's deadly area. Duration 45 seconds. Khan is shocked by all this. But he still starts attacking. Khan runs to the lizard. There are 30 seconds left. He jumps, ready to strike. There are 20 seconds left. He has 15 seconds left when he begins to strike at a weak spot. A penetrating blade is a success. Silver-scaled lizard, instant death. The hero sits down with relief. The voice says that killing the monster can be considered successful completion of the tutorial. Khan again does not understand what is happening. The voice decides to introduce himself. The voice turns out to be the same girl that was shown to us. Her number is 1788957 and she is now Ego Hannah. Her name is Cabbies. Now Khan is also a hunter. All people who were awakened 28 years ago have mana, an extraordinary power. Hanyeol became one of them. However, he is not at all happy about this news, but rather does not believe what is happening. The hero believes that this whole situation does not fit with common sense. The manager and his group find a newly minted hunter. They are shocked when they see that the monster has been killed. A hated hunter, whose name we do not know, roughly pushes Khan, as he decides to come closer to the corpse. He cannot believe that an ordinary porter killed the monster with a knife. The rest of the hunters believe that Khan only finished off the creature, and they did the main work. A rude hunter in a hat asks Khan if he has any claims. Khan replies that he has no complaints, while smiling sweetly. In fact, Lee thinks that the hunters are the real scum. He considers himself a fool for expecting any help from them. In fact, they used the person as bait. And the porter had to fight on his own with a strong enemy. The manager, understanding what Khan is thinking, says that this is not the first time the hunters have done this. At this time, Kabi's pokes his fingers on the cheeks of the manager, which confuses the hero. The manager notices Khan's strange reaction to what is happening, asks if everything is fine with him. Khan refuses, says that he just grabbed his stomach. No one sees Kabi's except him. Khan is praised for his work. Killing the monster alone is quite difficult. The manager even jokes that now he will become awakened. Khan, of course, laughs it off, saying that this cannot be. The manager says it's time to get back to work. Khan realizes that he has already become awakened. The manager calls the car to the scene. Yell decides that if you tell everything now, then nothing good will come of it, so he keeps everything a secret. A military vehicle with a body arrives for the fighters. The porters are handing over the suitcases. Kabi's asks Khan what kind of suitcase they gave him. In the suitcase is the equipment of the executioner. With it, the material of the monster is cut off, and then transported. The girl is puzzled by this work, which turns out to be a standard task for porters. It is for this reason that hunters take porters with them, since monster material can be sold at a high price. Kabi's now understands the meaning of such work. Since there are only two workers, Khan and the manager, Lee suggests dividing the monster into two parts. They share it with a special chainsaw. However, the manager's chainsaw becomes unusable immediately after starting work. Khan understands that the work ahead is hard, as he is the only porter who has the necessary tools. L decides to do all the main work himself, and the manager will take care of the rest. Kabi's is vomiting from all this. Khan collapses after finishing work. Suddenly, the plate that previously showed the skills of the knife appears again. This time it says that the monster lizard is completely defeated, and Khan is given the rank A. The girl explains that she gave him an improved executioner skill. Her words are reflected on the tablet. After graduation, everyone is praised and given a salary of 500,000 won. Now the hero has 500,463 won in his account. Since the hunters coped with the task faster than planned, everyone is released. The hunters discuss what they will have for dinner. Han is upset that he didn't get paid the extra 500,000 won because he worked a full shift. Khan transfers today's earnings to a certain guy. It turns out that he covers his father's hospital expenses. The manager asks the hero why the rest of the family is not helping. Khan explains that his mother and younger sister have long since left the family. The manager apologizes for his question, but Khan says that everything is fine. He is most concerned about his father's health. The manager makes a strange expression on his face. He says he always knew Khan was a good person. Khan just denies it. The manager says that he can call that Uncle Taisu. Since Yel doesn't have a car, Taisu offers to give him a ride. Upon arrival, Khan concludes that the manager is a good person, but too annoying. Since we finished early today, Khan has time to go to the night shift at the factory. He has 4 hours of free time. He gets the feeling that he forgot something. That something turns out to be Kabi's. However, she ends up behind him, which greatly frightens Khan. He does not understand where Kabi's was all the time, how she ended up next to him if she was not driving in a car. Kabi's says she can be considered part of Khan himself. On the site are also a child with a mother. The girl calls Khan a strange man. The mother asks her daughter not to look at him. It turns out that since the hero has become awakened, Kabi's will not leave him behind. She now serves as his assistant. Khan generally ceases to understand anything, makes a surprised face, which, in turn, surprises the girl. She asks if something suits him. Khan yells of course at this. He explains this by saying that Kabi's first appears out of nowhere, which greatly frightens the hero, and also people around take him for a madman, because it seems to them that he is talking to himself. He asks if Kabi's understands how he feels about himself, while dramatically falling on the bench. Kabi's asks if it's the hero's fault, but Khan only thinks that his personal life is now gone, and indicative tears appear in his eyes. He says goodbye to his joyful time. The girl folds her arms and asks what he means by happy time. Khan, who didn't say all this out loud, asks her if she can read his mind. The answer becomes positive, which does not please Khan at all. He asks Kabi's not to do this, to which she gives no answer. Kabi's invites Khan to test his abilities, but he makes an innocent face, suggests not to do it. The girl again ignores the hero, asks him to say the word state, for a start. After that, the blue bar reappears, which displays Khan's status and some data. Name, Lee Hanyeol, level, 1, points, 5, strength, 28, constitution, 34, agility, 29, magic, 10, luck, 10, skill, Kabi's defense and executioner skill. Khan suggests that the panel is like a game window, which Kabi's agrees with. Kabi says that his 5 points are divided into strength, constitution, magic, dexterity, and luck. She asks him if he needs to clarify what these criteria mean. Han says that he wants to ask the girl something. Kabi's makes an interested face and asks to ask a question. The question is why her name is included in his skills. Kabi says that this skill is what it is, since the girl herself is special. At the same time, she gets up in a boastful pose. Khan makes a disbelieving face, puts his hands in his pockets, asks if she really thinks so of herself. Kabi says that she is special, asks if the hero felt a special connection between the game window and the battle. The hero decides that Kabi's is right, since the Awakened appeared 28 years ago, but no one knows how they came about. He further gives examples. The power could appear on the battlefield, while studying at school, be with a child from birth. Since the powers appear randomly, scientists have not been able to figure out the reason for their origin. According to the data, hunters have 3 abilities, which are shown as a shield, sword, and bow. The ability of the sword is possessed by a hunter in a hat, a shooting partner by his partner, and a protective partner in uniform. All 3 of them were on the battlefield with Khan. A hunter becomes either in the circles of catching monsters, or in the circle of dressing those who create new weapons. The hero so far has only 2 skills, the last of which appeared after awakening. Khan asks if he is a unique hunter. The girl comes closer to the hero, a smile appears on her lips, she says that he quickly grasps everything. The hero again cannot believe what is happening. In his country, unique hunters are called thunderbeams. They are true masters of their craft and one of them is called Hien. Hien is a tall girl in a brown cloak. Khan concludes that all the skills he received, he acquired thanks to Kabi's. But he doesn't understand how it works. Kabi's begins his explanation with an example. If the rest of the hunters get a house upon awakening, then Lee got only a brick. But depending on his actions, bricks can become not just a house, but a whole castle. Khan does not get the meaning of the metaphor. Kabi's decides to explain in a different way, and she is already quite tired. All the skills that Lee pumps, and all the available skills, he receives thanks to her. Khan is again shocked by what is happening. We are shown the cattle depot, the factory where Khan works. He is greeted by a man in uniform, saying that the guy came early. L explains that he finished his first job pretty quickly. Khan asks what monster came to them today, to which he receives the answer that it looks like an albatross. Khan is surprised as these are B-level monsters that don't end up in the slaughterhouse. The man explains that it's all thanks to the connections of the boss, with whom Khan wishes to speak to him personally. Khan changed into a uniform. The man says that the boss knows nothing, but has good connections. The man looks at the time and says it's time to go. Khan says goodbye, says that they will meet already on the line. Khan asks Kabi's if she wants to leave everything like that. To which she replies, using the saying, it's better to see once than hear 100 times, says that you need to continue the work of the porter. Khan again becomes perplexed, as he is surprised by the fact that the girl knows such a proverb. Khan says he has done a lot of work in his 3 years as a porter. However, he is interrupted by a voice calling his name. The hero recognizes this voice. It turns out that this is a man of full build, in a jacket and helmet. It turns out to be the boss beggar, a pig. The boss drives Lee to work if he wants to get money. The fact is that on his first day at work, Lee spilled coffee on his boss, so now he constantly finds fault with him, although the boss intentionally pushed Khan. Khan picks up knives for butchering monsters, but this creature has a strange glow in the neck. He sees glowing lines on all the monsters. Khan decides that the work still needs to be continued, but the arrangement of the lines seems familiar to him. It turns out that these are the lines along which he usually butchers monsters. The hero assumes that this is due to the executioner's skill. Khan decides to ask Kabi's, but she does not answer him. His partner thinks that Lee is talking to him, but he refuses. Kabi's finally decides to show himself. The hero again wonders why the girl always appears later. The girl is standing in a nightgown with a pillow in her hand. Khan is surprised that she needs sleep too. The girl understands that the hero wants to ask about the lines. She explains with a smile on her face that they help him do his job. The hero opens his mouth and understands the information. His reasoning with the girl is seen by other workers, but they attribute this to the fact that he is having a hard time. The girl offers Yel to start his work, and then he will understand everything himself. He understands that then his work will be completed very quickly. Kabi's again becomes ill from the sight of butchering a corpse. Lee is surprised at how quickly he finished his work. It usually takes him at least 3 hours to complete a job, but now he's done it all in 1. If he continues to work, he will complete an 8-hour day in 3. The skill turns out to be really useful to use. Unexpectedly, he finds a purple magic stone in the monster's body. This stone is usually taken with you, as their cost is 1,000,000 won. He tosses the stone into a box labeled lower-class stones. Khan has the feeling that his knife is cutting faster and faster. He begins to speculate that this is a skill upgrade. Kabi's, who reads his mind, says that repeating the skill improves him. A sign appears on which it says, Sword skill upgraded to level F. It comes as a surprise to Khan that he received this skill. 2 hours after his shift, Khan starts cleaning his workspace. Another worker notices this and asks Khan if he has given up. The man begins to scold Ilya. The boss already considers him an unlucky employee, so he also wants to leave the workplace earlier to show everyone how hard it is for him. Khan claims he has already met his quota. The man wonders how he managed to do everything so quickly. Khan replies that he just got the gist of how to do the job better. Lee realizes that now is not the time to talk about how he has become awakened. The man does not believe the guy's words and decides to check the operation of the device, which shows the percentage of work completed. Khan decides to quickly leave the workplace. He is treated normally as long as he controls his mana. The man wants to learn the secret of fast work from Khan. L understands that doing his job in 2.5 hours is rather suspicious. Next time, he will have better control over his power. In the corridor, Khan meets the boss, who calls the guy to him. Khan doesn't like it all, but he understands that he needs to be patient, so he just asks the boss what happened. The boss does not like this question, because he does not like that Khan just walks around during working hours. Khan replies that he has already done all his work. The boss at first wants to say that he thought so, but his statement is interrupted by a surprised exclamation. Khan makes a cute smile and says that the deer is cut into 80 pieces. With the same expression on her face, Elle puts her card to the machine, which announces that Khan has fully completed his daily quota. This brings the boss into complete shock. Even an experienced butcher would not have done it so quickly. Khan decides to quickly leave again and look at the albatross. In the place where the albatross is kept, there is another worker who also decided to look at the monster. Albatross looks like a blue pterodactyl. We are shown a street with small houses. L is finally at home. He immediately jumps onto his bed. He thinks that since he is now awakened, then he cannot work at the factory either. At this moment, he receives a message from the guy in which they demand the return of the money. You still have to work in a factory. Khan has already paid the money today, so he decides to just throw away the phone. Before going to bed, L decides to take a bath first. At this moment there is a knock on the door. An unexpected guest is a girl who reproaches the hero for making noise late at night. L can't figure out if it's his neighbor. The girl at this time defines herself as a high school student who has exams, and if she fails them, is Khan ready to take responsibility for this? Khan apologizes to the girl. The girl, before leaving, says that in which case she warned Lee. He believes that today's teenagers are still fruits. Decides to go to bed earlier than usual tonight. The neighbor returns home, falls at the table. She is overtaken by excitement about entering the university. We are shown a piece of the protagonist's room, in which we see cockroaches. It's midnight on the clock, but Lee still can't sleep. It's probably because a lot has happened in the last day. In addition, a lot of interesting things appeared. Lee decides to ask Kabi's a question. Kabi's is getting tired of Han asking questions all the time. This time, Lee was not afraid of the unexpected appearance of Kabi's, as he was already used to it. The girl leans her head back on L's bed and wonders what he needs from him. He says that he knows that every hunter has mana that can be used. Can Han also use it? Kabi says that she was going to talk to him about this later, as the hunter doesn't have enough mana right now. It is quite difficult to explain the work of magic in words, so Kabi's invites the hero to figure it out himself. Khan was not ready for the fact that this would have to be dealt with now. First you need to close your eyes and put your hand on your heart. The type of mana depends on the type of spiritual power. Therefore, if you concentrate enough, you can use your strength. After the necessary actions have been performed, you need to concentrate on your spiritual world and imagine that a person is a tree trunk. L makes a surprised face, asks again about the tree, to which Kabi's again makes a sweet smile and confirms his words. Next, you need to imagine that the nutrients from the roots rush up. Lee is still incredulous about the method Kabi's proposes. But suddenly he succeeds, a small blue ball appears in his hand. The size of the ball was smaller than the girl expected. Kabi's assigned a new skill to Lee, mana control. Lee was again frightened by the suddenness of what was happening. Kabi's explains that the orb is a representation of pure mana, but in this state it cannot be used, since it is too small, but its amount can be increased either by training or by adding points. Khan decides that this night he will shine on training. Unexpectedly, the neighbor returns again and again with claims. The guy apologizes, while rubbing his neck with his hand. They show us the next day, but after the shift at the factory, Khan went to work early and finished early. The boss watched Lee's work all the time, but when he quickly finished his work, the boss had a very dumbfounded face. Lee again ran away from the workplace, so as not to answer no questions. Lee cooks custard noodles for lunch, wishing he had gone into the canteen. During lunch, Lee trains his strength. It turns out that the stove still does not work for him, which the hostess cannot fix. A guy won't live long on ramen, but there's nothing to be done. On a broken phone, Lee watches a baseball game. Match 7 is already over. The ball is thrown by Hanyeol, a man with a hot shooting style. Conrus is worried that if the ball hits someone's head, it will hurt a lot. Chung scores a strike. At this point, Lee has an idea: hunters can give mana to items, and whether he can do so. Kabi's again has to answer the question, can Lee do it too? Of course, he can also do this, but not at this level. If mana is introduced into solid matter, it will become much stronger. Khan decides that he needs to eat all the food at once. After all, the mechanism of work is the same. Now the plot takes place at night. Lee is dressed in a tracksuit, and Kabi's is standing nearby and does not understand what he is going to do. Lee placed a can of cola in front of him. In high school, he played baseball. Now he wants to try again, but this time with the help of mana, the hero endowed the stone with power. He makes a throw and hits right on target. The stone went right through the tin can. Lee is now proud of himself. There was still gunpowder in the flasks. Kabi's isn't particularly impressed with the skills. The hero continues his hard training. Already knocked out about 10 cans, sweat flows in streams. Kabi suggests that he rest, but Lee plans to keep training. However, a whole hour has already passed, and if you overdo it with training, then there may be bad consequences. Khan still has no plans to stop, and Kabi's has an incredulous expression on her face. Throw again, hit again. Mana usage increased. Now the skill crushing blow is formed. The hunter in the hat also used this ultimate. Khan asks Kabi's to tell about this skill. An explanation of the skill is displayed on the blue screen. It delivers a powerful blow by concentrating mana in the physical plane. Lee realized that he either gets a skill under certain conditions or by repeating actions, so he decided to just practice a lot. Khan picks up the stone again, planning to practice further, but collapses due to exhaustion. He woke up still at night and Kabis was sitting on the nearest bench. He does not understand what happened to him, so Kabis again has to explain everything. As a result, she just yells at him, as she warned of the consequences. Turns out he's been out for an hour. With that, he decides to end it and go home. On the way home, Han passes a notice board. The whole last day the hero feels chills. Although, it is possible, this is a glitch. Now he hears a strange sound coming from the gateway. We see two men threatening a neighbor girl with a knife. They ask her to stand still and shut up if she does not want reprisals. Lee has always avoided such situations, and the idea of calling the police seems to him the best, but first he decides to see what happens. The girl is already being tied up. In the girl, Lee recognizes his neighbor, a high school student. What to do now? He decides to take a chance and help. A neighbor silently calls for help. She is very much frightened, tears flow from her eyes. They want to put her in a car and take her away. Lee uses a new technique. He attacks the hooligans with stones. One of the bandits is knocked out. Lee goes out to them and asks to let the girl go. The second pulls out a knife and begins to threaten Khan. They try to intimidate him, but Lee suspected such an outcome of events. He is not confident in his abilities, but he needs to try. Now L uses a chain as a weapon. He succeeds in intercepting her direct attack with a knife. By the way, he copied the reception from the internet, although he was not confident in his abilities. It is possible that the fact is that with awakening, physical strength also increases. If this is true, then you can try a crushing blow. It works. The second bandit is also passed out. Lee frees the schoolgirl by holding out his hand. The girl throws herself into the arms of Khan, as she is very scared, and he just saved her. He hugs her tightly in return, reassuring her with the words that everything is already over. Time 12 at night. Khan and the victim are sitting at the police station, where they testify. The girl's name is Han Yubai. The policeman clarifies the accuracy of his testimony. The people in the cage threatened Yubai, and Han accidentally walked by and defeated them alone. The policeman asks the guy if he was awakened by the case. Khan simply refuses that he has just been playing sports for a long time. After leaving the police station, Khan feels tired. The policeman asked a lot of strange questions. The hero is already calmly about to go home, when he catches up with him, hugging Yubai from behind. She is called his appa, which in Korea is denoted as an older, respected brother or idol. This surprises him very much, but the girl looks at him with a playful look and asks if he wants to leave her alone. Khan notices that the girl is already feeling pretty good. He agrees to take her home. He notices for himself that despite the fact that he himself only learned her name, she seems to be a pleasant person. Yubai grabs onto it with a hand that is visibly trembling. Apparently, she is still worried about what happened. They get home with no problem. Despite what happened, Yubi is positive. She is a really strong girl. Now you can finally rest. Suddenly, something falls out of his pocket. This something turns out to be a note with a number and a signature. Call me if you get bored. Well, another gratitude for the salvation. The hero lies on his bed without undressing. Han Yubai is a beautiful name, but also funny at the same time. Khan imagines a painting that is a reference to the Chinese commander. Khan asks Kabis to show his condition. The panel that appears displays points, 10, level 2, strength, 28, physique, 34, dexterity, 29, magic, 10, luck, 10. List of skills: Kabis defense, executioner, sword master, mana control, crushing blow, compulsion. The level has increased, which pleases the hero. But he does not understand where the skill coercion came from. By the way, tomorrow is a day off at the factory, so Khan has an idea to go there. Khan, the next morning, comes to the gym. There he meets his friend, who is interested in the state of the guy's life. They hug, which once again proves the friendliness of a friend. It turns out that they met a few months later. The man even thought that Khan died on one of the tasks. Lee denies that there has been a lot of trouble lately, but now Han wants to start training in the gym again. The man asks how the man's Hyung is doing. Lee is going to visit him in the hospital, as he picked up a sore. The man asks to say hello for him, to which Lee agrees with pleasure. The man turns out to be the manager, who is called to him by other employees. Lee considers him a good person, as he allows the use of the gym for free, and taught Lee how to play baseball as a child. You will need a manager with cleaning in the hall. Lee starts his workouts by jumping rope. He again trains to the last, which gives Lee the opportunity to receive the skill of physical strength. This took 2.5 hours. Now you can start cleaning. Lee arrives at the Seoul National University Hospital and goes up to the 6th floor. A young girl sits at the front desk, who immediately recognizes Khan. The question about the state of the father has not yet been answered. Ilya is being handed documents for a receipt. The document is consent to admission to intensive care. Khan, not surprised that his father's condition is in an unclear position, thanks his sister for taking care of the elder. It turns out that all the other doctors have abandoned Lee's father. He is directed in the right direction, but at that moment a message arrives on the phone. Khan apologizes and checks the notice. Again, the return message is long, but Lee has already sent the amount. The hospital worker asks what happened, but L, in his usual manner, refuses, answering that everything is fine. Lee decides to ignore the messages. My father is in intensive care ward number 603. He is connected to a ventilator. Kim asks the nurse how many hours her father has been sleeping lately. She replies that starting this week, around 2 p.m. Kim realizes that he doesn't have much time left. The nurse does not understand what these words mean. Kim explains that every day the number of hours spent in sleep will increase. As soon as the time reaches 24 hours, the father will no longer be able to open his eyes. It has been 4 years since the father of the hero, whose name is Lee Jun-sam, fell ill. At that time, doctors did not know either the cause of the disease or the method of treatment. They just assumed it was a type of cancer. All this time, both anti-cancer treatments and clinical treatments have been tried. However, this only temporarily improved Jun-sam's condition. Father began to open his eyes, but now he sleeps more and more. After spending some time with his father, the hero decides to leave. The nurse is surprised by the early departure, since Khan has not visited his father for a long time. Lee believes that if the father had known about the visit of his son at such a time, he would have decided that he was causing unnecessary trouble. In addition, the presence of the son next to the father will not help the treatment. The nurse is surprised by this reaction. She asks if Lee knows a way to heal with magic. Khan had not heard of such a method. The girl explains to him that this is a new way, which is carried out by the awakened with the gift of healing. Of course, this method is problematic from the financial point of view. Khan does not let the nurse finish, because he wants to find a way to cure his father himself. He thanks the girl for her care. He does not want to give the girl personal troubles, since she has been caring for her father for 4 years. The nurse tries to answer something, but she does not succeed. Khan tells the girl that everything will be fine while smiling. Already at home, Lee realizes that he said this to the girl in vain. How does he plan to find a cure if even the doctors don't know what to do? The hero decides to start by looking for a method of healing with magic. He tries to turn on the old computer, which again does not turn on. Lee kicks the computer and gets angry that nothing works. The computer is helped by a physical action in its direction, it turns on. Lee finds information on the internet about a new treatment. He again testament to Kabi's. This time she is happy to answer questions. He asks if he can master the skill of curing diseases. She's not sure, but if the understanding of the skill satisfies the conditions, then it's possible. Kabi's notices a cockroach and cannot understand that it is so small here. Lee is pleased with her answer. However, even if he has sufficient understanding of the skill and he masters the necessary skills, then a higher level is needed. Khan decides to start improving his level. He Googles Porter's Paradise. Kabi's in the background is trying to kill an insect. This week all places for porters are already taken. He decides to call a friend to see if there is any work for him. Scheduled for tomorrow noon. Kabi's has almost killed the insect, but suddenly a few more cockroaches crawl out. The hero breathes a sigh of relief. Lee sees that Kabi's is sitting near the door, frightened. The fact is that the insects decided to attack her with their entire crowd. Early in the morning, while Lee is still sleeping, someone rings the doorbell. Lee opens the door but finds no one. She blames everything on the tricks of children. Suddenly he sees banana milk and a note. In the note, Yubai again thanks Han for saving him, calling him Appa. Lee enjoys banana milk. Yubai stands behind the wall and smiles shyly. Khan is standing on the road, waiting for them to come for him. The manager comes for him. Lee apologizes for calling so abruptly with a request. The man refuses and calls to get into the car as soon as possible and get down to business. They arrive at the Seoul government office. They decide to split up. The man follows the machine to transport the material. Khan comes to the porter service department. There, the girl clarifies that the guys in front of him are Lee Hanyeol, Choi Chung-hong and Kim Han, who are leaving for a mission today at 7 a.m. and from the A0017. All three confirm the information. First you need to pass the identification. They are given the necessary equipment, a submachine gun, 2 boxes of cartridges, 4 frame backpacks and personal chainsaws. Since the guys have been at this job for more than a year, the worker decides not to repeat the safety rules. The girl tells Khan that she doesn't know what happened on the last shift, but now his equipment is damaged. This caused a lot of trouble for the workers. Khan makes a guilty face. The girl, putting on a frightening smile, asks this time not to spoil anything. However, Khan's safety is still considered the most important, so she asks to return safe and sound. The porters and coves are brought to Gangwon-do, a place located near the demilitarized zone. This place looks like a green field surrounded by forest and mountains. The hunt has begun. Communication begins to disappear, which means that the field is already nearby. Although it might be for the best. They decide to stop. The manager says that today's enemy is dogs. Dogs are about the size of calves. Their peculiarity is ferocity and a developed motor nerve. They attack in 2s or 3s, so be careful. The manager says that when the porters attract the attention of the dogs, they will need to be handed over by the hunters. The hero is not happy with the fact that he is just a decoy, but he also recognizes the oratorical qualities of the manager. For the manager, this task seems easy, as he has already seen a lot of monsters on the way. Lee is back on the team with the 3 hunters he was with last time. A dialogue begins between the manager and the hunter in the hat. The hunter decides to ask the manager a question, which causes a bad feeling in the second. The hunter wonders if this time will be as dangerous as that one, since there will be problems if any bullshit happens. The manager assures that everything will be fine, that the strength of the hunters is much greater than the strength of the dogs. The hunter says that these words reassured him, but it is unlikely that we really do, since he has a rather stern expression on his face. This point is also noticed by Yeongam. From the outside, the conversation between Yeongam and a hunter in a hat looks like a psychological war. Anyway, now everything is in open work, so the manager releases fireworks. Dogs react to it, which begin to run towards the source of the sound. The manager gives the command to the porters to shoot. The porters open fire, and behind them, on command, are the hunters. The hated hunter attacks one of the dogs with a crushing blow. Another creature will attack him, but already from the back. The hunter was not taken aback and struck back. Cope with the dogs turns out pretty quickly, which makes everyone suspicious. The hunter girl doesn't even have time to create a magic bomb to attack. She now does not know what to do with the projectile. She is offered to just throw it aside, but she cannot, as it has crushing power. The manager still seems suspicious of what happened. Lee notices this and asks Taisu what happened. Taisu explains that it bothers him that the dogs didn't use force when attacking. He has suspicions that someone interfered in their duel. Lee was afraid that he was declassified. Therefore, in order not to give himself away, he simply supports Taisu's theory. It seems that the manager is not going to think further about this situation, but is simply happy with how everything turned out. Khan is called over to help with the work. Lee is glad that no one seems to suspect him yet. We are shown the actions that took place 20 minutes ago, when there is a psychological war between the hunter and the manager. Khan is called to his place to check and distribute the store. Upon checking, Khan does not find any problems. But the thought comes to his mind, what if we give mana to cartridges to increase their firepower? This will not only help the task, but also give experience points. At the moment of endowing the cartridges with mana, the manager approaches him. TC wonders what Han is up to. Lee rebuts, saying he's just checking the ammo magazines. The manager does not notice anything and asks to finish the work faster. It turns out that now all the pistols of the porters are loaded with Khan bullets. These actions raise him to level 3. The porters and hunters begin their next job, the work with the corpses. Hannah is already working on the third, trying to keep up with the hunters. He is told that it is impossible to work at such a speed, to which Khan agrees. Khan did not expect that because the work would be done faster, the hunters would also deal with the corpses. Hunters with power are hard enough to keep up with. At this rate, they won't last long, and Khan will definitely go crazy. There was an offer to take a break, which Lee is unspeakably happy. The other porters are already quite tired, and the hunters at least Hannah. Hunters are discussing the option to go somewhere. Lee is embarrassed in front of the other porters, but he has leveled up to level 4. Lee asks Kabis to show him his status data. He already has 20 points, and besides, his strength has increased. He does not yet know what he will do with his points, plus he will not be able to return the spent ones. Besides, those dogs were hard to kill even with mana bullets. But now he knows who is stronger and who is weaker. The manager says that a veteran like him already has enough experience to correctly match the amount of mana of hunters and monsters. Lee doesn't quite understand what mana matching means. TC says that Khan should be aware that before recruiting hunters, their mana is measured. Lee says he knows about the procedure. The manager says that Lee knows quite a lot, to which Han says that he just found out about it. The manager calls him a teapot. The manager says that his job is to balance forces. If the amount of mana of hunters exceeds the average amount of mana of monsters, then you can join the battle. However, if you have to face monsters of different levels, then everything will already depend on the experience of the hunter. The manager is holding a strange thing in his hand, which is a mana meter. Lee wonders if this thing is like a radar that picks up the mana response of monsters. The manager says that this is how it is, but the device has run out of charge. Equipping a device with mana is quite expensive. Lee offers to help since TC does so much for him. He decides to use his mana to charge. This helps, but raises obvious questions for the manager. Lee simply refuses, saying that the technique has failed. The device shows that there are more creatures a kilometer away. The manager decides that he needs to move on to the next hunt. Lee has an idea, to make his eyes a radar. He decides to ask Kabis about it. She says that it is possible to endow body parts with magic if they are strong enough, but she does not know about the eyes. If he does something wrong, then there is a possibility that his eyes will just explode. This scares Lee a lot, but despite this, he tries. His eyes darken sharply. His actions frighten Kabis. Khan has a strange feeling, but it seems that he managed to imbue his eyes with mana. Kabis asks about his well-being, to which Lee replies that he is in a lot of pain. Kabis scolds him for his arbitrariness, but he just continues to rub his eyes and say that if you don't try, you won't know. Kabis asks him not to rub his eyes and let the tears flow. Mana flows from his eyes, and his vision begins to return. Hunters notice a strange aura over the hero, discuss his strange actions. Kabis asks the guy not to do stupid things anymore. Khan gets a new skill, understanding of the use of mana. A new effect has appeared. When endowing the eye with mana, you can control the flow, density and amount of mana. This greatly surprises Khan. The working day ended, the manager thanked everyone for the work done. Paid 500,000 won for that day, even though the whole group plowed twice as much. The man is very dissatisfied with this, but TC quickly upsets him. TC says that's how things always work, but the man accuses the manager of siding with the hunters. He decides not to work in this team anymore. Lee blames himself for everything, as he has accelerated the work process. He is glad that he was able to improve his skill, although not to a sufficient level. His goal is to continue working on himself. After work, Elle goes to the hospital to consult a doctor about her father. There he is again told that the current level of medicine is not enough to cure, in their power only to maintain the vital activity of the body. Lee hears the same thing for the 100th time. The doctor offers Lee, since he has already come, to visit his father, who is now awake. The father sits on the bed with his hands on his knees. He is wearing a hospital gown and his face is unshaven. He greets his son. The father asks his son why he came. Lee wanted to tell his father that he got a job with a good company, which is a comforting lie. In fact, Lee plows 2 jobs, one of which is deadly. Lee talks about working with clients, and the father is surprised at how quickly his son has grown. Lee doesn't like his father's concern as he has to worry about his health. The father says that now his son will not be so hard when his father dies. Lee reacts sharply to his words, saying that he has not yet managed to give him a happy life. But the father continues, saying that he is just a useless old man, a burden in Lee's life. At this moment, from the surging emotions, Lee's magic was transferred to Lee Sr. Magic flowed through the blood and led to an unexpected outcome. For this, Lee was given a new skill, an understanding of the ability to restore vital energy. Lee asks Kabi's a question, but the father overhears it, and he doesn't understand. Khan says that he was just thinking about the work, while blaming himself for his intemperance. The father asks if it is too hard for his son because of him. Lee says everything is fine. The father begins to fall asleep again. Lee says that if the father holds on a little longer, he will see his son's face for the rest of his days. Lee Sr. falls into a deep sleep. Spruce Covenant Kabi's and asks her to tell about the new skill. She happily agrees and displays a blue table in which all the information is written. Skill effect: by transferring mana, it is possible to heal external damage and restore vitality. Lee wants to see if he can heal his father with this skill. Kabi's believes that one such skill will not be enough. However, if Lee continues to develop, then curing his father will no longer be a problem. A nurse enters the room, saying that the visiting time has already ended, while apologizing for the intrusion. Khan mentally asks his father to be patient a little more. Lee comes out of the room and bumps into a man. He apologizes, looks up and sees that in front of him is a person he knows with a friend. The first one is rather tall, and both of them have a gold tooth inserted. The nurse clutches at her papers and asks who the people in the hospital are. The second person calls the nurse a beauty. He quietly tells Khan that he needs to quietly follow them. Lee tells Kim's sister that they are just people he knows. She doesn't really believe him. She tries to ask him again, but they don't let her. Khan is taken outside, where he is beaten up by a tall guy while the other is looking at his phone. It turns out that these guys are the people Khan owes money to. The second guy is sitting on Khan's phone, reading correspondence with himself. He says that getting rid of them is not so easy. Khan replies that he transferred money to them. They explain to Khan that something was the principal amount, and now they are demanding interest from him, raised last month. Khan is shocked by this, because he was not even informed about this. They explain to him that everything was written in the receipt. Lee calls them scammers and clenches his fist. The guy, apparently the leader of the team, asks Lee to think about his father and not make such statements. He tells Lee that he has 7 days to repay the debt or his father will face the consequences. Then they continue to beat him up. Lee is left lying next to the trash. He thinks that despite the fact that he wanted to help his father, he exposed him to a new danger. Even if Khan can pay off the debt, then what? Lee decides that he needs to move on. It's all like pissing on 2 fingers. He sits in front of a laptop with band-aids on his face. He decides to go through the registration procedure for the position of a hunter. However, the registration procedure takes a lot of time, which Khan does not have. He doesn't think that by becoming a hunter, he can pay off his debt in 7 days. He just has to get excited. During the registration process, Khan heals his wounds on his own. He walks along the shops near Supermarket S. It is very dark outside. Khan put on a hoodie to hide his face. He is determined to get down to business. We are told about a kind of national certification body for awakened ones. It was created 28 years ago during the World War, by a group of active hunters. In this organization, hunters are issued a registration card and license, and registered hunters receive various privileges. Hunters who join the organization receive permission to legally exterminate monsters. Through connections with porters, the organization is also involved in transporting monster material. In particular, these are valuable materials, such as magic stone. Lee decides to buy his hunting supplies from the cheap market. He has little time, so he will have to hunt without a license. He heard that this is often done by hunters who want to evade tax or have no money. Killing monsters illegally is a dangerous move, but there's nothing you can do about it. Lee gathered everything he needed for hunting, except for weapons. Prior to this, bullets and pistols were issued to him by the organization, but now he cannot turn to them. The weapon is rumored to be available on the black market, but he doesn't have much money. Lee decides to buy a bow from his grandfather, while specifying that it is not a fake. In addition to all this, you need to restore strength. Grandfather says that he bought a bow for hunting, but his wife did not like the idea. Now he sells this bow. Lee wants to touch the onion with his hands. The draw strength of the bow is good. A bow with 2 bundles of arrows costs 150,000 won. Lee is shocked by the amount. He takes a step back. This amount is his monthly expenses. But, there's nothing to be done, he buys onions. Grandpa asks to be careful with the bow. Now Khan needs to find a melee weapon. Khan approaches the toothless grandfather, a merchant. He asks his grandfather if he sells weapons. Grandpa yells at Khan, because everything is clear. Lee understands that the weapon is without a license, but now it does not matter to him. L asks permission to touch the weapon. The knife appears to be in very good condition. Lee asks the old man if there is a knife that does not slip in his hand. Grandpa gives him a suitable knife. Khan decides to buy 2 at once. Khan leaves the market. Grandpa is glad that he was able to sell 2 knives today. Suddenly, a man approaches him. Grandpa thought it was a new customer, but it's a cop. They came on a call in which they reported that illegal trade was taking place in the market. The old man is asked to go to the station. Khan comes home, all things are collected. There was only one unresolved question: how not to get caught at the checkpoint. He decides to use the proven option, Google. You need a car to get to the checkpoint, so he decides to rent a truck. Renting a truck turns out to be very costly. But there's nothing you can do, so you'll have to pay 500,000 won. Do go to bed thinking that all things are finished. But there is one more thing: work at the factory. Khan arrives at the factory and places an envelope on the boss's desk. The boss rips up the letter as he doesn't plan to read it, and Khan is totally freaked out. The boss is constantly getting letters that he thinks are asking for help. Every time in such a situation, he simply tore up the letters in front of the workers. Over time, they quit, but the boss did not care, since there were many workers. Lee is not bitter because the letter contained a letter of resignation. The boss starts to get mad, asks again what Khan dared to say now. Lee, mocking the man, starts picking at his ear, saying that his ears are blocked. The boss swings at Khan, but he manages to stop the blow. He says that why wave his fists if he came just to talk. The boss decides to give the brat a lesson and swings another freak, calling Lee a freak. For this, Hannah throws the boss over the table. Another worker comes to the noise, asks Lee what he did and why the boss is on the floor. The boss says Lee started the fight first. Khan picks up his torn statement from the floor and stuffs it into the boss's mouth. The worker realizes that Khan is more dangerous than it seems at first glance. Khan leaves the building pleased with himself. He thought that he would not do without a fight, but he believes that the boss deserved it. Khan will no longer be able to live his former life. His main task now is to hunt monsters. He finds the hangman's hooks on the street and decides to take them with him. We are shown that the neighbor again leaves food in front of the hero's door. Lee removes all the plasters from his face because everything has already healed. On the street, he is approached by a man who has brought a rented hunting truck. The guy asks to show Ilya his identity card. Khan is given the keys to the car. He is told that if the rental time exceeds 24 hours, then you will need to pay extra. Khan gets into the truck and goes hunting. He drives up to the checkpoint, where he is asked to show his documents. Lee says that he is from the advance group, and another detachment has his documents, so the next car will present his documents. The guard says it's against the rules, but his boss tells him to just let the porter through. The fact is that a lot of cars have accumulated in the queue, which should not be delayed. Khan made a good decision to come at this hour. In the guard's booth, the corporal is asked the question, was it possible to let a person through without documents? Corporal Choi says he hopes nothing bad happens. He asks if he had experience of letting a person through without documents. The guard says that he has never done this before. The corporal explains that even if they were deceived, it does not matter, since going hunting alone is suicide. Corporal Choi starts his shift. An ordinary guard asks him a question, is it suicide if the porter went alone into the forest? For Corporal Choi, this is not an issue, since they are guarding the battlefield, in which the gates are still open, no external communication devices are available. It is dangerous to go to this place even for one hunter.